All right, we're taking you across Mumbai live. These are live pictures that we're getting from the AIIB AGM, the third AGM of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. Prime Minister Modi has reached there. We are witnessing the opening ceremony of the third AGM of the AIIB. You could see Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis there as well. In the day-long sessions, there's a session of chief ministers as well. Leaders in infrastructure and projects for development in Asia are at this general body meeting. And let's listen to what is happening on the ground at the moment.
Later, you will hear from President of the AIB, Jin Lee Chun, from Minister Sulaimanov, Vice Chair of the Board of Governors, Minister Astrup, Vice Chair of the Board of Governors, and finally from our guest of honour, the Honourable Prime Minister, Mr. Modi. My first task and great honour is to invite the Chair of the Board of Governors and Finance Minister of India, Mr. Piyush Goyal, to address us. Thank you.
A very good morning and a warm welcome to the opening ceremony of the third annual meeting of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. It is my proud privilege to welcome the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, to this momentous occasion, signifying global cooperation and development. A special welcome to all the distinguished participants from across the world. It is my privilege as the Governor of AIIB for India to address this august gathering of international leaders and dignitaries representing governments, developmental agencies, banks, academia, and business. India is honored to host this year's annual meeting of AIIB. India has a symbiotic relationship with this institution as one of its 21 founding member countries, the second largest shareholder, and the largest recipient of assistance sanctioned so far. India is blessed to be guided by the principles of Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation, who dedicated his life to the cause of serving the poorest of the poor. He once remarked, and I quote, "In a gentle way, you can shake the world." AIIB is gently shaking the world with its focus on helping member countries improve the life of their citizens by combating poverty and climate change. We will be celebrating the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi shortly, and this meeting, in many ways, reflects his vision. The solution to all our problems lies in development. AIIB will help in concretizing Asia's aspirations and will be the bank that will build the 21st century partnerships for progress in Asia. In this context, the role of infrastructure as one of the core drivers of growth assumes great significance. In India, the investment in infrastructure needed to meet the aspirations of 1 billion plus people is huge. One study estimates that over 5 years, 2017 to 2022, key sectors such as energy, transport, and urban development will require an investment of about 750 billion US dollars. In this fiscal 2018-19 alone, we have budgeted infrastructure spending of a record 90 billion US dollars. AIIB will be an important pillar in meeting this requirement. Developmental finance will be pivotal to meet the financing gaps in infrastructure. The role of multilateral development banks like the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank, the New Development Bank, and the AIIB in poverty alleviation is immense, and they will need to facilitate development finance in close coordination amongst each other. Particularly the newly established multilateral development banks such as NDB and AIIB will have to collaborate with each other to develop innovative financing instruments transformational projects, and project processing mechanisms. This will enable greater access to finance for less developed and developing countries. These banks will also have to develop faster processes for loan disbursement and create efficient as well as flexible organizational structures, give due consideration to country systems wherever possible. These newly emerging institutions have the potential to redefine the contours of multilateral financing and set new rules for engagement. Multilateralism has helped the world achieve inclusive economic growth across countries at different stages of development. We need to strengthen the multilateral cooperation to help us meet the challenges of climate change, economic slowdown in some parts of the world, and rising protectionism. India is a leading emerging market economy and has been an oasis of economic growth over the last 4 years. It is one of the most favored destinations for business, trade, and investment. The transformational reform of institutions and processes, especially in industry, as part of the Make in India initiative, has significantly improved the business environment in the country. The government has stressed upon ease of living, working towards ensuring the availability of basic amenities like electricity, water, housing, education, and healthcare for all. Under the inspiring leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister of India, guided by his vision of inclusive growth for all, we have worked towards doubling farmers' income and reigniting the entrepreneurial spirit of India through a multi-pronged strategy. As part of the 3rd annual meeting of AIIB, a number of host country seminars have been organized on important issues centered on the theme mobilizing finance for infrastructure, innovation, and collaboration. I am delighted that the distinguished participants have given bold new ideas to achieve our objectives. We hope to continue receiving your recommendations and support for formulating future policy. In this context, I hope you all have an engaging, stimulating, and lively exchange of views during this annual meeting. In conclusion, the Upanishads from our ancient Indian texts state, and I quote, "The little space within the heart is as great as the vast universe." Our meeting here is an embodiment of this philosophy. It is a meeting of open minds and hearts to achieve the universal goals of prosperity and progress. I once again extend a warm welcome to all of you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Minister Goyal, for those words of welcome, and the AIB is deeply grateful to India for hosting this important gathering. I now have the pleasure to introduce to you the President of the AIIB, Mr. Jinli Chun.
Honorable Prime Minister of India, Finance Ministers, Governors, Chief Ministers, Maharashtra, distinguished governors and members of the Board of Directors, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure to be in Mumbai for AIIB's 3rd annual meeting. We are grateful to the Government of India for offering to host the annual meeting and for organizing such a successful event. After Asia's economic growth far outpaced the global average for nearly 3 decades, Asia's economy has become a global heavyweight. Asian developing countries now account for 60% of global growth, while roughly 2/3 of global trade is part of value chains passing through Asia. Indeed, Asia is assuming leadership in new areas. But growth is just a means to an end. The ultimate objective is to improve people's lives, enable individuals to reach their potential and enjoy prosperity and security. It is a dream of all of us Asians to live a middle-class lifestyle with good education and healthcare, a clean environment, and consumer comforts. Yet still today, 11% of Asia's population remains in poverty. There's no room for complacency. We know that poverty is concentrated in areas that do not have good connectivity to the global market. So part of the situation is right in front of us. We simply need to act. It is against this backdrop that AIIB was formed. Economic openness and investment in infrastructure drove Asia's growth in the previous decades. Now, much more must be done to ensure the future continues to brighten for all of Asia. Asian populations support global economic integration because it has brought benefits to the region. A 2014 Pew Global Attitude Survey found that most Asian countries see trade as a job creator. Unfortunately, protectionism practiced by some countries is likely to dim the prospects for all countries in the world, including themselves. Globalization can be disruptive. A key task of governments is to ensure that benefits of trade are widely spread to help the losers adjust and become winners. When China joined the WTO, free trade was a challenge for many sectors, particularly agriculture, which was not China's comparative advantage. But the Chinese government implemented crucial reforms and economic restructuring and improved its social policies and income redistribution. The result, in China, globalization is popular because many have benefited. China's success rests on the government's willingness to adapt to short-term sacrifices and the people's embrace of reform. Looking at the prospects for developing Asia, I will ask, will we continue to have an open global trading system, or will the world retreat into protectionism? I would urge some developed countries to resist protectionism and remain open, and developing countries to continue opening up. We must strive to preserve those features which spread benefits, and we must rejuvenate and rethink those systems which may be weakening to find a path forward in the 21st century, the Asian century. We must also revitalize the global economic institutions. The global economic order is precious, but imperfect. As developing countries increase their share of the world economy, they should also have greater weight in the multilateral institutions. But with greater weight also comes greater responsibility to support them and take a lead role in reforming and financing them. I'm delighted to say that the AIIB is your bank, founded by developing Asia with the support of non-Asian countries, built on the experience of Asia to create the future of Asia. A key feature of developing Asia's success to date is aggressive infrastructure investment. The economy cannot grow and people cannot reach their potential without necessary economic infrastructure. Between now and 2030, Asia's investment in infrastructure must rise to $2 trillion a year, or roughly triple what it has been in the past. This is an enormous challenge. Where will financing for this investment come from? It will have to come from multiple sources, domestic and international, public and private. International finance can make some contribution. The task requires joint effort, and it's because of this that partnership is encoded in the DNA of the AIIB. Many of our initial projects have been prepared in collaboration with other MDBs, the World Bank Group, Asian Development Bank, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, and the European Investment Bank. I would like to thank all our partners for their cooperation. We have achieved in our first 2 years of operation. We also have stand-alone projects and expect to have more of these in the future as we increase our capacity. And we always ensure quality is the first priority. And we always ensure that each project we finance is financially sustainable, environmentally friendly, and accepted by the local people. In addition to our formal partnerships, I would note that our members are involved in a wide range of regional infrastructure and trade arrangements. The Belt and Road Initiative is one such arrangement. It is an invitation by China to other sovereign nations and multilateral partners to cooperate and to collaborate in line with the principles of broad consultation, joint construction, and shared benefits. Other multilateral arrangements we will work with include the Greater Mekong Sub-Region Program, the Central Asia Regional Economic Cooperation Program, the South Asia Sub-Regional Economic Program, and the Asia-Africa Growth Corridor. For the countries involved, it makes sense to coordinate their AIIB investments with these other programs. For the AIIB, we will promote cooperation in all of these areas, provided that the projects meet the high standards we expect. However, it is important to note that there is a limit to how much infrastructure financing can come from abroad. Today, the average debt for Asian countries is at a favorable level, and continued rapid growth means countries can cautiously take on more external debt. But there are some countries that face unsustainable external debt, and they will need to adjust their policies. This issue of external debt sustainability is one of the reasons why foreign financing must work in partnership with domestic sources, including the domestic private sector and local governments. And it's for this reason that the title of this year's annual meeting is Mobilizing Finance for Infrastructure, Innovation, and Collaboration. Well-designed technical assistance from MDBs and other sources can help developing countries design good projects and implement them effectively. So, some keys to implementation are competitive bidding on contracts, independent supervision and auditing, and environmental and social safeguards. Another aspect of policy frameworks that I know of personally is pricing of infrastructure services and cost recovery. When China opened up in the early 1980s, the country was faced with mounting infrastructure constraints and scarce local fiscal resources. Early on, the government's policies moved forward towards cost recovery, particularly in power and roads. China now has more kilometers of toll roads than any other country. People who had to cope with stiff tolls and high utility charges are now benefiting from extraordinary infrastructure facilities, thanks to the rational pricing which enabled the networks to expand quickly. Malaysia and Thailand are good examples of cost recovery in the power sector. Each has average electricity tariffs above average cost to make the industry profitable, which has gone hand in hand with high electricity quality in a number of developing countries. Pricing of utilities, especially for households, falls short of cost recovery, and unless addressed properly and promptly, infrastructure bottlenecks will continue to slow down economic development. We cannot discuss infrastructure growth without also considering the environmental impacts of climate change. Environmental and social sustainability is a fundamental aspect of AIIB's support for infrastructure development and enhanced interconnectivity in Asia. Consistent with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, we recognize the need to address the three dimensions of sustainable development: economic, social, and environment, in a balanced and integrated way. We also subscribe to the principle of sustainable development in the identification, preparation, and implementation of our projects. Now, let me cite examples of what AIIB finance projects actually mean on the ground. In Gujarat, India, a $329 million loan will support improvement of rural roads for 1,060 villages. Connectivity is essential for accessing health and education and for participating in the market economy. These roads will benefit 8 million people, of whom 1/6 are below the poverty line. In the Philippines, typhoons and floods are responsible for 80% of natural disaster-related deaths in the Philippines. AIIB is partnering with the government of the Philippines and the World Bank to upgrade waste management and modernize pumping stations along Metro Manila's main waterways. The past year also saw AIIB's first loan outside Asia. The board of directors approved a strategy which guides our approach for leading to non-regional members. AIIB's $210 million investment in Egypt will transform an open desert in Bambar into a solar power park, hastening Egypt's use of renewable energy sources while decreasing the country's dependence on gas and oil. We have been approached by countries in Africa, Latin America, and Europe looking for AIIB's help. We focus on Asia, but we support other regions. Other development of bridging the infrastructure financing gap is to create a mechanism to mobilize private capital from global long-term investors, such as pension funds, endowments, and insurance companies. An example of where we are doing this is our $150 million investment in a fund to make private equity investments in India's infrastructure sector with Morgan Stanley as the fund manager. Through this kind of fund, we can reach smaller projects that would not be efficiently done for AIIB to take on directly. And this week, we have also agreed to invest $100 million in India's new National Infrastructure and Investment Fund, an innovative new mechanism to attract more private capital to meet this country's huge infrastructure needs. In summary, AIIB is off to a good start. We have hired seasoned professionals to build the business, and we are putting more focus on hiring capable young professionals who can form the backbone of this young institution for many years to come. We're establishing a strong corporate culture focused on embedding our core values of being lean, clean, and green. And we are developing a workplace environment free of corruption and harassment, with a culture of openness and candor, underpinned by mutual respect for each other. We are investing in infrastructure in a wide range of countries, investments that are already starting to have an impact. And we must ramp up our efforts quickly because infrastructure needs in developing Asia are huge and need to work in partnership, particularly with the private sector and local governments. Solid growth, global growth is crucial for our members to meet their objectives, and an open trading system is a foundation of that global growth. I look forward to working with all of you toward this end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Jin, for those remarks and for your leadership of the bank. Now, as you all know, the bank is a multilateral institution, and our growing membership now includes members from every continent. To represent that diversity of membership, we will now hear short contributions from our vice chairs of our Board of Governors, one from our members in the Asia region, one from out with the region. First, we will hear from the Governor for Kazakhstan and Vice Chair of the Governors. Please give a warm welcome to Timur Suleymanov, Minister of National Economy.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency Prime Minister Modi, Your Excellency President Jin, dear governors, ladies and gentlemen. Let me express my greetings and sincere congratulations on behalf of the government of Kazakhstan on hosting this third annual meeting of the Asian Infrastructure Bank. I would like to thank Indian government for the true Indian welcome and true Indian hospitality. I also express my gratitude to all of you for supporting Kazakhstan's candidacy to be one of the first vice chairs for this annual meeting. It is with the great pleasure that we can state that within a short period of time, AWIB has become an equal participant in the system of international multilateral development organization and has won its rightful place within the world's economic and financial system. Kazakhstan was extremely pleased to take the news on the bank's AAA rating given by all three major rating agencies. It confirms the bank's sound financial position and ability to lend to its member countries. We also full-heartedly welcome and congratulate Lebanon on becoming the 87th member of the AIWB family. The theme of the third annual meeting of the bank is mobilizing finance for infrastructure, innovation and collaboration. It is closely linked to Kazakhstan's foreign economic policy, which is aimed at multi-vector cooperation, openness and adherence to the rules-based system of international trade. We believe in the context of current global processes, the future of our region is determined by our cooperation. On our side, we have set the goal of entering the top 30 most developed countries in the world, and to that end, we implement a number of structural institutional reforms to achieve that goal. In order to closely integrate our country with Central Asia, China, countries of the Eurasian Economic Union and Europe, we're implementing significant regional infrastructure projects. Kazakhstan plans to become a regional business and investment and transportation hub, and we're diligently working towards that goal. The construction of the 3,000-kilometer-long Kazakhstan section of the international corridor Western Europe, Western China has been completed. It is a key element that connects physically the Belt and Road Initiative with the countries of the Eurasian Economic Union, with Central and Eastern Europe. And we have seen the freight turnover between the region has increased by 2.5 times and the transit traffic by 3 times. 3 pilot container trains have been launched. We call them Nomad Express on the Trans-Caspian International Transport Route. It connects China, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Turkey, as well as China and Iran through Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan. New logistics hubs have been built in the eastern and western regions of our country, as well as the joint Kazakh-Chinese logistics terminal at the seaport of Lianyungan. The capacity of our ports on the Caspian Sea has been increased to the total of 26 million tons per year. Special Economic Zone Kyrgyz Eastern Gates is fully operational and is functioning for unimpeded trade and boosting our transit cargo flows. Work is underway to create international aviation hub near Almaty. By 2020, we will have direct air connections with all 10 leading global financial centers from New York to Shanghai and Tokyo. Financial infrastructure is of key importance to Kazakhstan and our region in general. To that end, the Astana International Financial Hub was established, and it will become, we hope, the hub for the whole Central Asian region. It offers state-of-the-art technological and regulatory infrastructure, and it is governed by the English law. On July 4th and 5th, we will have a grand opening of the Astana International Financial Center, and I would like to welcome and invite all of you to Kazakhstan. We clearly understand that physical infrastructure is of vital importance, but it is not enough by itself. In light of our adherence to free trade, free investment, free transit, we have recently signed a free trade agreement, temporary free trade agreement with Iran, and we have signed a trade and economic agreement with the People's Republic of China. As a member of the Eurasian Economic Union, along with all our member countries, we're negotiating free trade agreements with India, Israel, Singapore, to name a few. We believe that AIIB is a bank of multilateral cooperation and development. It has wide mandate, great flexibility, understanding of our region, excellent staff, and very dynamic, ambitious management. We're confident that the bank will make significant contribution to the development of our region, to interconnecting our region, and making lives better for each and every one of us. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much indeed, Governor. We'll now hear short remarks from the Governor for Norway, Vice Chair of the Board of Governors, representing our non-regional members. Please welcome Mr. Nikolai Astrup, Minister of International Development.
Prime Minister, President Jin, Ministers, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. I am very grateful to have the opportunity to speak to you at this opening ceremony of the third annual meeting of the AIIB as you are elected Vice Chair of the Board of Governors. Even though this is the opening ceremony, it is already clear to us all that our host country, India, has done a tremendous job. I would like to convey a warm thank you from all of us for making this meeting a success and for making us feel so welcome. Norway is proud to be among the founding members of the AIIB and to have been part of 2 exciting and successful first years of operation. We have seen a rapidly increasing membership and a steadily expanding project portfolio. A number of policies and strategies have been adopted, and we have seen successful co-financing projects with other multilateral development banks. The AIIB has learned from, but not copied, partner banks, which in certain respects makes the AIIB a different kind of bank. In my view, the multilateral finance architecture needed a slightly different institution, and I think we are well on the way to creating a bank that provides quick, cost-effective, tailored solutions for borrowing countries. This is thanks to the hard work of President Jin and each and every staff member at the AIIB. I welcome the choice of topic for this meeting: mobilizing finance for infrastructure, innovation and collaboration. The international community has now developed a vast multilateral finance architecture with the AIIB, the other MDBs, the Green Climate Fund, and a host of other multilateral financing mechanisms. However, I wonder if our appetite for new innovative mechanisms sometimes gets in the way of addressing the real challenge for many, which is accessibility, and the need to have an overview of all the different financing options and instruments available to us, and understanding how to use them. Is there, perhaps, a need for some kind of one-stop shop created by these institutions in collaboration to help guide us all? The AIIB has been created to help fill the huge infrastructure financing gaps in the clear knowledge that this will not be possible without massive amounts of finance from both private and public sources. In this endeavor, we need to improve our ability to mobilize institutional investors. I know firsthand that this is easier said than done, but it is essential if we are to mobilize the necessary funds for worldwide development. I truly hope that the AIIB will be able to put together investment packages that are attractive to this class of investors. I cannot talk about infrastructure without mentioning the oceans, the true highways of the global markets. More than 90% of world trade is carried by sea. The oceans are a perfect illustration of our interconnectedness and our interdependence. But there is also another, less positive side to the story. Every year, a staggering 8 million tons of plastic ends up in the oceans. And 80% of marine litter comes from land-based sources. This needs to stop. The people of India, just like the people of Norway and countries all over the world, are rallying to do their bit to reverse the trend of plastic waste suffocating the seas. But we have to do more, much more, to ensure clean and productive oceans for the future. I hope that the AIIB will become an important partner and investor in this endeavor. We will have to invest a lot of money in waste management in the coming years if the oceans are still to sustain marine life in 2050. The only good thing about this bad situation is that waste management is both a very profitable line of business and an area with great opportunities for job creation. President Yin, it is tempting to add waste management as part of the substance to the clean part of lean, clean and green, but I can accept that green will cover it for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Governor. India is the second largest shareholder in the bank and is the largest user of bank financing. As a founding member, India played a leading role in shaping our institution, and this commitment owes a great deal to the leadership of our final speaker. So now, the moment you've been waiting for. Prime Minister, we look forward very much to hearing what you have to say.
President of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, other dignitaries on the dais, distinguished delegates from India and abroad, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to be here in Mumbai for the third annual meeting of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. We are happy to have this opportunity to deepen our engagement with the bank and its members. AIIB started its financing operations in January 2016. In less than 3 years, it has in its own fold 87 members and a committed capital stock of $100 billion. It is surely going to play a critical role in Asia. Friends, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank is a result of collaborative efforts of Asian countries to provide a better tomorrow to our people. As developing countries, we share similar challenges. One of them is to find resources for provision of infrastructure. I'm happy that the theme of this year's meeting is mobilizing finance for infrastructure, innovation, and collaboration. Investments by AIIB in sustainable infrastructure can impact the lives of billions of people. Asia still faces wide-ranging disparities in access to education, healthcare, financial services, and formal employment opportunities. Regional multilateralism through institutions such as AIIB can play a central role in helping to raise resources. Sectors such as energy and power, transportation, telecom, rural infrastructure, agriculture development, water supply and sanitation, environment protection, urban development, and logistics require long-term funds. The interest rate on these funds need to be affordable and sustainable. In short period, AIIB has approved 25 projects in a dozen countries with a total financing of over $4 billion. This is a good beginning. With committed capital of $100 billion and huge need for infrastructure in member countries, I take this opportunity to call upon AIIB to expand from financing $4 billion to $40 billion by 2020 and $100 billion by 2025. This will require simpler processing and faster approval. It would also need high-quality projects and robust projects proposals. I believe that India and AIIB are both strongly committed to making economic growth more inclusive and sustainable. In India, we are applying novel public-private partnership models, infrastructure debt funds, and infrastructure investment trusts to fund infrastructure. India is trying to develop brownfield assets as a separate asset class for infrastructure investment. Such assets, having passed the stages of land acquisition and environment and forest clearances, are relatively de-risked. Hence, for such assets, institutional investment from pension, insurance, and sovereign wealth funds are likely to be more forthcoming. Another initiative is the National Investment and Infrastructure Fund. This aims to channel investment from both domestic and international sources into infrastructure. This fund has received a boost with AIIB committing $200 million for investment. Ladies and gentlemen, India is one of the most investor-friendly economies in the world. Investors look for growth and macroeconomic stability. They want political stability and a supportive regulatory framework to ensure protection of their investment. From the point of larger scale of operations and higher value addition, an investor is also attacked by a large domestic market size available for skilled labor and good physical infrastructure. On each of these parameters, India is well placed and has performed very well. Let me share you with some of our experiences and achievements. India has emerged as a bright spot in the global economy, which is driving global growth as well. With a size of $2.8 trillion, it is the 7th largest in the world. It is the 3rd largest in terms of purchasing power parity. In the 4th quarter of 2017, we grew at 7.7%. In 2018, we are projected to grow at a 7.4%. Our macroeconomic fundamentals are strong with stable prices as robust external sector and a fiscal situation firmly in control. Despite rising oil prices, inflation is within the mandated range. The government is firmly committed to the path of fiscal consolidation. Government debt as percentage of GDP is consistently declining. India has achieved a rating upgrade after a long wait. The external sector remains robust. Our foreign exchange reserves are more than $400 billion, provide us enough cushion. Global confidence in India's economy is rising. Total FDI flows have increased steadily. More than $222 billion have been received in the last 4 years. As per UNCTAD's World Investment Report, India continues to be one of the top FDI destinations in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, from the point of a foreign investor, India counts as an extremely low-risk political economy. The government has taken a number of steps to boost investment. We have simplified rules and regulations for businesses and undertaken bold reforms. We have provided investors an environment which is efficient, transparent, reliable, and predictable. We have liberalized the FDI regime. Today, most sectors are on automatic approval route. The goods and services tax is one of the most significant systematic reforms that our country has undergone. It works on the one nation, one tax principle. It reduces tax cascading, increases transparency, and aids to logistics efficiency. All of this makes it easier for the investor to do business in India. These and other changes have been noticed by the global fraternity. India has jumped 42 places in 3 years to enter the top 100 in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Report 2018. The size and growth of the Indian market hold much potential. India's per capita income has doubled in the last 10 years. We have over 300 million middle-class consumers. This number is expected to double in the next 10 years. The size and scale of requirement in India gives the added advantage of economies of scale for investors. For example, the housing program in India targets 10 million houses in urban areas. This would be more than the total requirement of a lot of countries taken together. Therefore, the use of new technology in house construction would have added advantage if tried in India. Another example of scale would be the renewable energy program in India. We have set a target to construct capacity of 175 gigawatts of renewable energy by the year 2022. Of this, the solar energy capacity will amount to 100 gigawatts, and we are well on course to exceed these targets. We have added more capacity to renewable energy than conventional energy in 2017. We are also making collaborative efforts to mainstream solar energy in the form of an international solar alliance. The founding conference of the alliance was held in New Delhi earlier this year. The alliance aims at a solar capacity of 1,000 gigawatts with an investment of $1 trillion by 2030. India is working on e-mobility. The challenge before us is of technology, particularly with respect to storage. We will be hosting a global mobility conference this year. I hope that this will help us in moving forward. Friends, in India, we are upgrading connectivity at all levels. The Bharat Mala scheme is aimed at improving road connectivity by constructing national corridors and highways. The Sagarmala project has been undertaken for boosting port connectivity, port modernization, and port link industries. Dedicated freight corridors are being developed to mitigate the congestion of our railway network. The Jalmarg Vikas project would augment capacity of navigation on national waterways for internal trade carried through inland water transport. Our UDAN scheme works towards regional airport development and improved air connectivity. An area which I believe needs even more attention is the possibility of utilizing India's large coastline for transportation and freight movement. While we talk about the conventional concept of infrastructure, I must mention some of the modern day infrastructure on which India has worked. BharatNet is targeted at providing last mile internet connectivity in the country. India has over 460 million internet users and 1.2 billion mobile phones in use. We are promoting the use of digital payments. Our United Payments Interface System, or UPI, along with BHIM app and RuPay card, has shown the true potential of digital economy in India. Through the Umang app, more than 100 public services have been made available to the citizens through their mobile phone. Our Digital India mission aims to bridge the rural-urban digital divide. Agriculture is the lifeline of the Indian economy. We are promoting investments in warehouses and cold chains, food processing, crop insurance, and allied activities. We are promoting micro irrigation to ensure optimal use of water with increased productivity. I would like AIIB to look into potential investment opportunities in this field and associate with us. We aim to provide every poor and homeless household a house with toilet, water, and electricity by the year 2022. We are also looking at various strategies for effective waste management. We have also recently launched Ayushman Bharat, our national health protection mission. This will provide a benefit cover of our $7,000 annually to more than 100 million poor and vulnerable families. The resulting expansion of healthcare facilities will lead to the creation of a large number of jobs. This will also promote the production of high-quality medicines, consumables, and other medical technology equipments. Jobs will also be created for ancillary activities, including call centers, research and evaluation, and IEC activities. The entire healthcare industry will receive a boost. Moreover, with the government assuming healthcare benefits, the saving of a family can now be better used for other consumption and investment. This increased disposable income in the hands of a poor family would lead to increased demand in the economy. I see great potential in this for investors. Friends, the Indian story of economic resurgence closely mirrors that of many other parts of Asia. Now, the continent finds itself at the center of the global economic activity. It has become the main growth engine of the world. In fact, we are now living through what many have termed the Asian century. A new India is rising. It is an India that stands on the pillars of economic opportunity for all, knowledge economy, holistic development, and futuristic, resilient, and digital infrastructure. We look forward to our continued engagement with our development partners, including AIIB. In conclusion, I hope that the interactions in this forum will be fruitful and enriching for all. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Prime Minister, for those inspiring words. We're grateful for your support for the bank and for the advice and guidance that you have given us today. That's the conclusion of our opening ceremony. Thank you for attending. Could I ask delegates to remain in the hall while the Prime Minister leaves, and let us thank the Prime Minister again for his attendance. Thank you.